What would you do if you found out a powerful wall had been quietly draining your family's land of hundreds of thousands of dollars, only for you to discover they'd built a luxury resort right under your nose? This isn't fiction. This is the story of how my grandfather's peaceful farm became the center of a ruthless land grab, how a supposedly community-run wall extorted nearly $500,000 in illegal fees, and how they tried to bury the truth beneath fake documents, shady zoning boards and corporate lies. But they forgot one thing. They built it on my land and I was ready to fight back. My grandfather bought this land back in the 1960s. 40 acres of rich earth trees older than the town itself, and a creek that ran through the middle like a silver ribbon. This was his dream, a self-sustaining farm where he raised crops, tended to animals and built the life he wanted, free, honest and far from the chaos of the city. He kept every receipt, every deed, every map. That land was his pride. And after he passed away in 2019, it became mine. I didn't plan to farm it the way he did, but I respected the land. I wanted to protect it. I even thought about turning part of it into a nature retreat in his honor, but that dream was quickly crushed by the wall. It started small envelopes with official-looking seals, letters that said things like, "Greater than you owe $1,200 in community maintenance fees." Community? What community? I wasn't part of any development. There were no sidewalks, no clubhouse, no landscaping, just fields, trees and the old barn. I called. I emailed. I got the same answer every time. Greater than your property falls under the jurisdiction of redacted. Lakeside wall fees are mandatory. It sounded absurd, but they were persistent. Every month the fees grew $5,000. $12,000 late penalties. Legal threats, interest. One notice even claimed they'd placed a lien on the property. Then I noticed something strange. I pulled up Google Maps. The satellite image of the property looked off. The northern tip of the land, about 6 acres, was no longer forest. It had been cleared, and in its place, a sparkling resort complex, cabins, a spa, a pool, a road that curved like a scar through what used to be untouched woods. I nearly dropped my coffee. I zoomed in and there it was. A sign that read Lakeside Springs Resort, built, fenced, occupied, and no one had ever asked me for permission. I went to the county records office. That's when the real horror story began. According to the zoning board, my grandfather had voluntarily joined the HOA. Back in 2005 there was a signed agreement. Or so they said. I asked to see the document. They showed me a poorly scanned piece of paper. Different font, wrong signature, and my grandfather's name misspelled. He never signed that. I knew it, and get this. The WAP president listed on the form a man who didn't even live in the state until 2009. So I did some more digging. The wall had rezoned part of the land, my land, claiming it was part of a shared resort development plan. They got city permits. They claimed eminent domain for community use. But it was all under the radar. They had been charging fees to my grandfather for over 10 years. Most of which he never saw, because he paid everything in cash or checks. They even filed tax documents to show he was a participating member. This wasn't a mistake, this was fraud. When I hired a property attorney, the numbers became terrifying. Between the fake wall dues, liens and unpaid infrastructure assessments, the wall had built my family for $450,000 over the years. Worse, they had been collecting rental income from the resort on my land. They built guest cabins, hosted retreats, and even held weddings. All without my consent. That's when it hit me. They weren't just stealing money. They were stealing my legacy. And I wasn't going to let them get away with it. First I got the media involved. I contacted local journalists and provided them with documents. The fake signature, the maps, the photos of the resort. Then I filed a lawsuit. Not just against the law, but also against the real estate developers, the zoning board, and the county for gross negligence. They tried to delay, they tried to settle. But the public pressure worked. News headlines read, "Family farm stolen by was scam. Luxury resort built on stolen land. Grandson fights for justice after grandfather's legacy was hijacked." When we got to court, their fake documents were ripped to shreds by my legal team. The judge was furious, and after months of hearings, The court ruled in my favor. Not only was the land restored fully under my ownership, but the wall and developers were ordered to pay $2.4 million in damages. For illegal construction, lost revenue, and emotional distress. They had to tear down the resort, and the county was forced to audit its zoning approvals. Across the state, the HOA was dissolved. It was over. My grandfather didn't live to see them pay. But I hope wherever he is, he knows his land is safe now. The fields are growing again. The creek still runs clean. I've turned the area where the resort once stood into a memorial garden. 1 acre of peace for every year they stole from us. So if you ever find yourself dealing with an HOA that feels more like a mafia than a neighbor, ask questions, read every document, and never ever let them bully you into silence. Because no one, not even a powerful law, gets to steal what's yours. Not without a fight. If you found this story shocking, or if you've dealt with HOAs overstepping their bounds, let me know in the comments. And if you want more real-life stories of justice, revenge and redemption, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. I've got plenty more tales to tell. Until next time, stay alert, stay informed, and protect what's yours.